Good afternoon. Today is the 5th of June and I'm back in my Lady Weiss 2014 MG3. It's time to tell you about some of the cars that I grew up with in my family. Hope you enjoy it. So this video was suggested by a viewer who goes by the YouTube name of Matt Beamer. He's got his own channel on YouTube, so I'll leave a link to that in the description below. He's got a video on his channel of explaining, the cars that he grew up with in his family as well. So he asked me if I would make one, and I'm very happy to do that. My parents, before I was born, had a 1980 Volkswagen Polo. It was a red one, a sort of dark red colour. I never saw it myself, but I saw a photograph of it many, many years ago. It was a Mark I Polo facelift that was introduced about 80, 81, something like that. And they had that for 3 years. But before that, my mother had a 1958 Morris Minor that was inherited from her father, my grandfather. And they had those two cars in parallel. My mother had a Morris Minor since the sort of late 60s, I think. And yes, when my sister and I were born, we're twins, they decided they needed a bit bigger car and they needed to go down to just one because they couldn't afford to run both of them with us. So they went out and bought another Volkswagen. It was a 1983 Volkswagen Jetta CL. I think they had a 1500cc engine. I'm not very good on 80s Volkswagens, but that's as far as I know. That was the car that they had. My parents kept the Jetta until around early 1990, when my father, who was diametrically opposed to anything sort of bourgeois, relented and let my mother get hold of a 6-month-old, actually it was less than it was 2 months old. It was a demonstrator anyway. It was a 1989 Volvo 240 GL estate. It was a 2.3 what's called the B engine, I think, in Volvo circles. It's a 16 valve version of that engine anyway, as far as I know, and it had a catalytic converter and fuel injection. Not a lot of power, but 110 horsepower for a big heavy rear wheel drive car. And it had the rear folding seats in the boot. They faced backwards. That car was very strong and very sturdy. We had a minor accident in it in 1992 and it just kind of shrugged it off, really. Kind of unkillable. I mean, my mother kept that car until, November 2001. So for all throughout the 1990s, we had that particular car. Apart from being safe, the car didn't have air conditioning or a sunroof, so it used to get quite hot in the summer. It was like a dark blue colour, I think called midnight blue. The fuel consumption was very bad, the handling was very bad, but the car was very comfortable and you could fit a lot of stuff in it. That's why antique dealers used to use them. Yes, I kind of still miss that car in a way. It was just part of our lives for all that time. Although the GLT and the GLE, which you could also get, were much nicer trimmed than a GL, which only had cloth seats. Another car that entered my family in 1990 was, I think, a 1987 white Volkswagen Polo Mark II, known as the Bread Van Polo. Now, we only had that car about 6 months because what happened is that my parents went up to 2 cars with the Volvo. I think we got a bit of money from my grandfather or something, and they decided they'd have 2 cars again. And in December 1990, I think we must have that car 6 months or something, my father passed away, and so, my mother only had, one person to drive in the family, so we had to get rid of the Polo, which was a bit of a shame because we only just got it, but we were sort of, I think, 7 and 8 or something at the time, my brother and sister and I. So not much chance of learning to drive for some time to come. So we just persisted with a Volvo right the way through the 90s. Then in 2001, my mother bought a car off a friend of hers. It was a 1995 BMW 520i Touring automatic. It was an SE. It was a very, very late model of that generation. And they were replaced in 96, I think, that particular 5 Series. It was white leather interior and spec'd up massively. I think my mother's friend paid £35,000 for it or something. But it had, long electric sunroof, automatic transmission, the leather interior, climate control, parking sensors that were very rare in the mid-90s, parking sensors. The car wasn't actually that reliable. It had problems with the automatic gearbox, and once cut out on my mother on the A34, which is the Newbury bypass, which was not great. And it wasn't particularly good on fuel. It wasn't much better than the Volvo, probably because it was an automatic. But it handled quite nicely and it drove nicely enough. And I like the fact you could open the tailgate in 2 separate ways. It had an opening kind of glass as well as the normal opening tailgate. Although the car didn't have particularly good legroom, and it was perhaps a little bit unreliable. We had it quite a long time. I think we had it about 8 years or something like that before eventually we got rid of it. But yeah, the white leather interior with this optional sports seats was really nice. I'm not going to talk about cars I've already mentioned in the video, how many cars I've owned, just to say. I had cars by this time of my own in parallel, and so did my sister. So you'll have to look in the description below for that one. But my mother then got in 2009 a second-hand BMW 320d Touring. We purchased it from Eastleigh, just quite near where we're at the moment, and my mother really liked it. It was kind of like a dark grey, sort of green metallic colour. First diesel my mother had. I can't remember if it had sat nav or not. It probably didn't have sat nav actually. That was one of the reasons my mother got rid of it, I think. But it was really smooth to drive. It's pretty reliable. It was an early example of that generation of 3 Series. It was a 55 plate. Still on the road actually. I checked and it's still on the road, which is great. It done 99,000 miles in 4 years when we got it, but it was been regularly serviced and everything. And as far as I know, it was a fairly reliable car. It was fine actually. I drove it once in about, gosh, I can't remember when it was exactly, 2012, something like that. I didn't like the fact that it had one-touch indicators, and I still don't like cars with one-touch indicators. And I wasn't used to driving automatics at the time either. But it was fine. It was a good car. My mother really liked it. So in 2013, she decided she wanted a different one, would have done lower mileage and had sat nav, and so she got a 2010 BMW 320d. This was the facelifted generation for one before, and this was the SE Business Edition, so it had the sat nav and everything like that. This had a more powerful engine. They changed with a facelift to a more powerful 2-litre diesel engine, and that thing, oh my gosh, it was fast. One of my friends still owns it actually, so yeah, you might see it on my channel at some point. But it's a good car. I mean, it's done well over 100,000 miles now. He uses it for work and things. My mother used to drive about 7,000 to 8,000 miles or something in it a year. I think he does 15 or something like that. So yeah, it was a good car. It was, I think, one owner from new or 2 owners from new. It lived up in the northwest before we got it. Yeah, it was a perfectly good car. I drove it quite a lot. Drove it all the way to a centre of Germany and back. I think probably twice or something. I think I did that. So yeah, very comfortable for long journey. After that, my mother and I both got rid of our diesel cars because of the London Ultra Low Emission Zone and the diesel depreciation and things like that. In 2017, at the same time I got my Seat Toledo, about 2 weeks beforehand, she got a 2017 Mercedes-Benz C200 Sport Estate, which is the car that you often see me do sort of vlogs in when I'm at our house, which I am a couple of times a week, and you've very kindly interested in it. It's very, very nice, and you will see that again on my channel. We're hoping to do a full review of that at some stage. It's worth saying now that my paternal grandfather was a total petrol head. He died around sort of 12, 13 years ago. But he had a huge selection of cars when I was growing up. A lot of Maestros. He had about 5 of those. Love to own a Montego personally at some point in my life. He had Escorts after that. He had Escorts right away until he died, I think. He also had really weird cars like Fiat 126 at one stage. He had a Renault Traffic camper van. He had I think a Renault 5 as well. He had all kinds of weird cars, my grandfather. It's a fascinating sort of thing in itself. I'll have to talk to my uncle at some stage and see if we can piece together a sort of like a more comprehensive history of that, which I'll put in another video if we can put that together. So I hope you found that sort of extended piece of memory lane interesting. If you wish to get in touch with me to source a car for you, I'd love to do that. The easiest way to do that is via my website, which is www.lloydvehicleconsulting.co.uk. Please use the contact tab on the front page to get in touch with me for that. I've also got a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. Got more video content on its way tomorrow. When we're doing a collaboration with Matt from Furious Driving, which should be interesting. Thank you very much indeed for watching.